We have sound now. Do you hear me, Mariana?
It'll be a minute.
Yeah. You hear me? Okay. All right, so we're going to pick back up again where we were. First off, I want to say welcome to each and every one of you, and let's just come to Heart Center, and then we will bow together and acknowledge Namaste. Namaste to you, peace to you. May you gain enlightenment both today and every day. And so we're still, and we may very well not get finished with Philip today. We'll just have to see how things go. But certainly, as every day, there is much potency, and I don't know how many of you these things are helping in your everyday life. I'm being blown away by how much the things that I read and share with you guys, but how much they begin to manifest. And so it really does fit to a lot of the credence of many of the things that I've learned. But one of the things that I've really been amazed about immensely is the power of the words that were left in the Bible they were written around, but if you would, the universal truths that remain in the Bible. And I don't know so much about the Old Testament. We know that was pretty much totally written with a very few exceptions by priests, and but the scriptures that we find in the New Testament are really a magnificent picture once you begin to see and be able to understand and discern what Yeshua is really saying. And I think at the same time there has to be a level of learning how to judge what was planted in you, what you were, if you would, programmed with, and being able to find it inside of yourself to let go of those thought processes, those paradigms. And of course there will be people, I'm sure, that will hang on to them, and maybe they even morph them into some version, and I don't say whether that's right or wrong. I just know that truth is truth. And it's really been a quite amazing piece that as I study and as I go along, how it is coming out, that all that is really happening is that, in a nutshell, to say it the simplest form, that we are in a time, there's been others, but that we are in a time of remembering. And one writer said it, that when people begin to remember who they are, then there will be much great change. And so I think even if we all have pieces of it wrong, that's not all that surprising. If we all, get a different interpretation, inevitably truth will manifest itself, and those, no matter where they're from, that desire truth will hear it in their inner person, and they will abandon untruth for truth. Many, I'm sad to say, may very well they may never hear the truth that is being spoken to them. But it is for sure that the universe has every desire for people to hear truth and then make a decision about whether they're going to accept it or not. And so for those, that hear it and then walk away from it, it's been going on since the beginning of time. That's not a new anomaly. It's not just because we're somehow have progressed. It's really quite amazing how the statement that those that forget the past are doomed to repeat it. And I think there's actually a magnification that goes there. I think the further you get from truth, when you miss it, it's actually, there's a ratio of how much more detrimental that is the further away you get, because you've had lots of time for people to manipulate and change. And so nobody studies history, nobody goes back and researches this stuff to find out what was it that was really believed, and was it what I'm being told was believed. We were told that all these people, Jesus and Paul and all these other people, that they were all Christians, and that there's absolutely nothing that could be further from the truth than that statement. In fact, if you look at the beginnings of early Christianity from Yeshua to the year 300, you actually find that Christianity was brought into as a corruption into the Gnostic movement. They were constantly fighting the lies of Christianity that people were propagating. And so that's surprising, but because we thought that Christianity had been forever. That's all there ever was. And the truth of the matter is everything they told us was horrible and evil is to the most part is not at all that. What it is it is an agenda against truth. And maybe some of you just have a problem with that. I know a lot of people that are on the left have a problem with truth. They can't see it. And we can see that in the political world, but I'll tell you, it's 10 times worse in the spirit realm. And so knowing that, it then is supposed to help us understand and learn how to navigate humans, how to navigate the people that we're around, the people we encounter. How do you tolerate people that are not enlightening, they're not growing, they're not accepting? How do you tolerate them? How do you deal with them? And there's multiple different ways that truth tells us as to how to do that. And so But it truly is an amazing time to be alive. There is, man, it's like everywhere, filling the cosmos, and so then it's up to us to be alert, be mindful, be awake, be in alignment, and be conscious. So, in the Gospel of Philip, we left off last week at the section called Sex and Spirit. And I read to the end of this, but I really think it's quite significant. You know, oftentimes, as you will find with the esoteric, which simply means the hidden, the esoteric of something really speaks to a piece. And so, you know, Yeshua was an esoteric teacher because he never taught anything straight up. He never told anybody, just told them the truth. You're going to die and go to hell. He didn't even tell them that. He always teaches off of some hidden knowledge, and if you're not awake and enlightened, you won't have a clue about what he's talking about. And we see in the Bible that it was that way. We saw in the personage with Anna in the book on Wednesdays that we just finished, that he, in many cases, I believe Yeshua wandered around Israel quite sad, if you would, at the quantity of people that he was speaking to who were yet not getting it. And so that really opens up a lot of thought processes about the world in which we live in and the people in which you have to deal with. And so, sex and spirit. Humans have sex with horses. Humans have sex with humans. Horses have sex with horses. Donkeys have sex with donkeys. And members of a species have sex with members of the same species. There's really a little piece there that maybe you haven't thought. First off, it may bewilder some of you to ask the question, because we've had many allusions to sex and the bride chamber and intercourse and all of those things that seem to just openly be a part of their dialogue. They related the spiritual through the physical things that were going on. And so here we have Philip, a guy who manifested the supernatural. He literally was transported from one place to another in the spirit realm, and there was no Star Trek at that time, so it didn't come from Scotty. But we have this visitation of him manifesting, which is actually a physical thing that has been recorded in history, okay, as happening in the mystic world, if you would. That is to say, the power that is there is so great, and yet we have zero knowledge of it. We were told that the power is bad. We were told that that everything that wasn't Christian was demonic. And here over the next few months, you actually might get a really beautiful picture, which some of you will be able to find peace with, that 150 years ago, that many of the things that I've been saying intuitively were being taught openly. And so it's really quite amazing that these things happen in the manner they do, that the power in the spirit, we called it magic, we call it black magic. We miss totally understanding anything that has to do with the demons in the Bible. If you get the revelation, it will really shock you what the madman of Gadara was really all about. It had nothing to do with devils. It had to do with the inner of that man. And it also does with you. So we have this concept where they're using sex to teach. I mean, good night. Most Christians that I know of, if a preacher stood up in the pulpit and said something about sex more than about once in a year, they probably would leave his church because they couldn't stand how impure he must be. Well, that can only come from a mindset and a definition that tells you that what Source created for us to use as humans is then dirty, unclean, whatever term you want to term it. And many people have their own definitions of what that means. And so members of a species have sex with members of the same species. Have you ever wondered why two people get together? Paul said it, and it really is quite amazing how it works. He said, those of like precious faith. So there is this seeming principle that there will be people in your life that will not be part of your life. They will only exist in the realm of your life. And then there are these people that are of a different constitution. That's where you get your twin flames, if many of you may not even know what a twin flame is, or a soulmate, or people that, as Paul said, have like precious faith. You can have 25 people in a church and only 2 of them actually connect at spirit level. And so it's really something esoteric. It's really kind of hidden. People don't know much about it, and they don't care to know much about it. That why is it that there are situations and times in our life when there is deep connection, and why is it that we fight so hard to get a deep connection that can never exist in the first place? And it really is an awakening person that will only ever even begin to ask those questions. What if they're not accidental? What if these things and how they're happening are actually part of the journey and the connections that Source, the universe, puts us with? So there's really a much more significance to that statement about like species. It is the definition of what Paul said when he used that term of like precious faith. It is people that are the same, if you would. And so also, spirit has intercourse with spirit. And maybe for many people, if you've come out of Christianity, you believe that, if you were a Pentecostal, you believe that if you spoke in tongues, then you were filled with the Spirit. I can't tell you how many old ladies I've had blabbering stuff at me and shaking and chandeling and rolling on the ground, and they have no clue what the Spirit even is, because all you need to do is just listen to the words that come out of their mouth that are intelligible, and you often find very mean, hard-hearted people, not loving, kind, enlightened people. And I always used to struggle with that at church. I would hear some lady say some really horrible derogatory statement to one of the younger girls. She had too big of a butt, or she didn't wear the right clothes, or she looked like a tramp, and she couldn't believe that she came to church looking like that. And all of these very hard and destructive statements, while in their minds they are the epitome of purity. If they had any wisdom, they would understand that that is the proof of their purity, is their logos, the words that come out of their mouth. Doesn't mean that we can't change our logos. It simply means that under those situations in that environment, I never saw one do it. I'm sure there were some that I didn't see. So, members of a species have sex with members of the same species. So also, spirit has intercourse with spirit. And so, maybe you've never thought about spirit in a sexual context, but it is totally in sexual context that we can fully understand the connection of spirit. You can only morph into something that you match with. We learned last week that if a woman, she may be married and she may be having sex with a man, but she has sex with someone else and her heart is towards that, that's a species separation that's being shown. Most people just don't see it. And that the child will end up inevitably looking. Believe me, as a counselor, I never knew that. But I watched lots of that. I watched lots of that stuff go on in a Christian church. And so, spirit will have intercourse with spirit. So what does that mean then if you're not, then it has something to do with who you are, is how the divine spirit will interact or intermingle or enter into. I think that's why many people often can never find the fullness of the spirit in their life. If the spirit does not have intercourse with you, you have not become inundated by the spirit. And the same for word. Word mingles with word. If I say words today and they do not resonate with you, if the words I'm speaking are truth, then that's just an indicator. That's all. Light mingles with light. You probably, and I've found this happening quite often to me, not having a desire to be as much around people that I used to have a desire to be around because of their light, because of their lack of desire for the truth. There's lots of reasons, but there's no question that positives in this situation, positives will attract theirself. There is a place for positive and negative attracting. There is also a place in the spirit realm for positive and positive. And when I say that, I'm not talking about you can lie to yourself and talk about how good things are when they're really being destroyed. I'm not talking about that kind of human pseudo positive and negative, because sometimes things that aren't good are positive. And so light mingles with light. Those things are attracted to each other. If you've felt, that you have some, often not even understood, but there is something there that just draws you in. And so, the synopsis: if you become human, a human will love you. Okay, that's relatively simple. If you become spirit, the spirit will unite with you. Well, that one seems like, especially if you've come from any basis of Christianity, since Christianity and certainly Pentecostalism constantly talks about spirit and yet has no idea of what the spirit even is. They believe that the fullest manifestation of the spirit is speaking in tongues, and that's proof that you have it. Well, I heard a lot of people speaking a lot of things that I ain't real sure was the spirit to be. In fact, quite honestly, it wasn't, but that's another story for another day. So if you become spirit, then spirit will unite with you. If you become word, then the word will, once again, back to that word again. This word of intercourse is trying to get our minds to grab a hold of something intrinsically larger than just be part of you, come by you, be in your presence. This concept of intercourse is a very, very special concept of the interaction between the word, the logos, the truth that comes in and finds refuge, and that's really not right, but that's the only way I can see to say it. But it finds refuge in you while you also reciprocate that by finding refuge in the word. Maybe some of you have been in situations and people have made you feel horrible, and the only peace or the only comfort that you found was in rehearsing the word, the truth of who we are and what we are. Like somebody tells you that you're going to die and go to hell, and you then may have to rehearse the words and remind yourself that I am light and I am love, and just because that person tried to condemn me doesn't mean in fact that that's reality. Maybe to them it is their reality. I know it's certainly true of a lot of Christians. And so, but if you become the word, now that's a totally different concept. What might it look like? and of course you have an opinion, and you should, what might it look like for us to become Word? What does that mean? That's like the archaic statement that Yahusha used, which is so misunderstood and so underrated that it's almost just cliche anymore. Nobody really cares or thinks about it. But it is exactly the same concept as loving your neighbor as yourself. What does it mean for you to become Word? What does it mean for you to truly? How, if you took a day of your life and God sent the Spirit to show you every mistake that you made all day long towards other humans, would you be able to handle it? If He exposed to you all of the damage that you did to humans, whether they're lost or, if you want to use that term, I don't think that it's really fully right anymore, although I won't say there aren't people that aren't going to end up in the presence of God, if you would, Christian term. And so then for us to receive the Word and have the Word come into us and be, well, when the Word is in us and is being us, we are living the Word without having to think about it. We don't do that because that is against the Word. We do this because this is the Word. And so as you begin to put those actions into your heart, from your mind, you begin then to come the Word. And so it intermingles with you, if I could say it like that. If you become light, light will mingle with you. I've noticed more and more when people are enlightened, the repulsion on many levels is really quite excessive, and yet on other levels you see people that instead of, even if they don't even care about spirituality, and yet for some reason they're drawn to an energy and they have no knowledge of why. So this isn't, as I said, this isn't the Christian concept or paradigm of there are those that are going to hell and there are those that are going to heaven. This is a totally different thing. This is about the makeup of the spirit that is inside every human. And there are people who are light that have no knowledge of their light. In fact, it's stated and you will see this, and as it begins hopefully for you to clarify, you will begin to see that light is highly visible. Just as walking into a room and intuition telling you about negative spirits, usually to warn you, to protect you. You can be sitting in the room with somebody you've known and pick up an intuition and know what that person is. Almost every time I do that, I put that in front of the person, and I've noticed that almost across the board, when they begin to deny that there's something going on, that's your indicator that they either, number one, don't know, or know and are lying. It goes on all the time. And I don't say that everybody's liars, but everybody lies. And so if you become light, then light will mingle with you. So then that also tells us that if you do not become light, if you do not become light, then light will not mingle with you. You want to know why you're not accelerating? It's because you're not becoming what you are. That's a weird thing, because part of this, and it's going to play out whether it be Edgar Casey's writings or Blavatsky or many of the other people who've written heavy esoteric stuff that is beneficial, that those things are known and without ever speaking words. You can sense them. You walk in a room and you feel uncomfortable. You're around. I stood next to somebody the other day, and I went, man, I got to get out of here. This person's spirit was really heavy and was not desirable at all. I haven't always functioned in that like it's starting to happen, but I do know that that's available for all of us. And I wonder how many friendships we wouldn't have if we had been conscious of these things. They were guides, they're psychic powers that we all have, but not all of us have explored them. Not all of us at this point even believe that they exist. Many still think that a medium is going to send you to hell because they're talking to the demons. Such as Christianity goes. And so if you become light, see, there's a question of your actions that bring that about. It's not that light doesn't exist. Light is everywhere. God's Spirit is everywhere. The question is are you becoming? See, and that's a total act of your will and your character and your desire and what the real truth in your heart is. Many people want some woo-woo. They want some kind of power. They want some kind of mystical thing. They want some kind of control over. They want these things, and to them, that's what higher spirit is about. And actually, to be quite honest with you, all of that stuff is exactly the opposite of true spirituality. People that are true spiritual will always be humble. And so, if you become light, light will mingle with you. So what does that mean if we say, what if you don't become light? I mean, the words are really simple to understand. All you have to do is reverse the question. Okay, if I am light, light will come to me. I don't have to go find it. It'll manifest. It'll come. There will be people that enter my life. I don't know who they are, and they will bring light into my life. But I have to be light. And so if you become one of those above, those above will rest on you. And the concept of the resting is it's really funny, because I know this is a supernatural angelic thing, but we had a white dove that ended up here in the yard, and I never experienced it before, but I've been amazed how many different times I can be driving and there will be things that manifest the significance of the white dove. It's a constant symbol to us of the power, the Spirit of God, and it's as if the universe is telling you that I'm here. And so that's really significant. You should pay attention to it. It's actually a kindness that the universe throws your way, sends your way, to comfort, strengthen you, encourage you. It's all good. It lets you know that you haven't been forgotten. And so if you become one of those above will rest on you. And so when people begin to come into their spiritual journey and they begin to manifest, and their heart is right and their heart is pure, and they begin to see things happen and see things change, and they start having paradigm thought shifts where they used to think like this, and all of a sudden, and it's a slow process, it's just a slow process. You have many years of being that person that you were. And if your heart is right, then you're asking the spirit realm to help you not be that person anymore. I don't know if any of you have ever prayed that. You should probably have a hunger every day in your heart that you don't be like you were yesterday or 5 years ago. And many people I watch, they're very rebellious. That is, that they're not going to let anything get inside of them that might actually benefit them by changing them. And so it is a resistance to change. Well, a resistance to change puts you in misalignment with Creator, and the supernatural begins to stop on your behalf. So it's really crazy, the synergistic. Intercourse is the perfect word. These guys weren't using words. They knew the value of words. And when you say that the Spirit will come and have intercourse with you, my friend, that's one of the greatest blessings that could ever happen. And so if you become one of those above, so there again, everything is an action on my part. Everything is, did you notice that it didn't say that if you choose not to do this, the universe, there's not going to be any love, and the Spirit won't be resting on anybody, and you won't be any of this. It doesn't, none of that is true. All of those things are all going on. The only question that there is in this journey called mysticism, metaphysics, esotericism, spirituality, which I don't completely go with, but it's a word that we understand. All of those things are totally tied to you. And there will be those people that will do the work and make the journey, and there will be infinitely more that will choose not to. But it is a choice that you are making every single day. And so, if you become a horse or a donkey or a bull or a dog or a sheep or some other animal, wild or tame, then neither human nor spirit, nor word, nor light can love you. What? Well, I think if you are really a person that's seeking truth, I would think the obvious first question that you would have to ask yourself about that statement is, I need to contemplate, I need to meditate and find the higher answers that are out here in the radio frequency about what is the concept that's being talked about what I am. About what I am. Because it's all tied to what you are. If you'll notice in the statement, if you become, that is a you making yourself, it is something you have made yourself into. To become something, that means that you weren't that originally, and you have morphed, you have remade yourself into that thing. And we have people in our presences, friends. All of these people that you see that are wacky, that are losing their minds, that are going crazy, that are doing all of this stupidity with no love. Folks, I'm sorrowful. You can believe that everybody is love, and I believe every human has a divine spark in them at some level. But I'm here to tell you, there's a lot of evil going on that ain't nothing but evil. And you can't equate it. You can't equate it. How can you equate the death and destruction as being something positive? Well, if we want to reduce the numbers of humans, that's positive. I'm not quite sure that that's the universe's need for us, is to diminish the although we have a whole sect of very rich people that believe that we should kill about 2/3 of humanity so that they can be prosperous. Bill Gates is one of them. In fact, he's a very strong proponent of reducing overall Earth population. And so I said that because that hopefully will help you begin to draw a picture about what these people are, these dogs and horses, and going back to a base animal attribute. And so, but the really startling thing, once you grab a hold of that, first off, it's something that you did to yourself. If you didn't get anything else, forget the horses and the dogs and the pigs and the cows and all of that stuff, and simply put in your mind something that you've done to yourself. Then neither human nor spirit. That's why you have so many people in our society that are going crazy, killing people. Have you noticed how it's increasing? As light is increased, the earth is in chaos. We had an 8.8 earthquake. We had a 4-point-something earthquake in the United States. We had multiple tsunamis. We had a volcano all go off within about 48 hours of each other. This earth, friend, is in derision. Mother Earth inside is unpeaceful. And as inside, so is outside. When Mother Earth is out of balance, then guess what happens? It reflects in what's going on in the world. And so, then neither human nor spirit, nor word nor light can love you. So there really is a connotation there that I hate to say, because this is all going to be proven out as we go along over the next year is going to be absolutely mind-boggling. Many will drop away. They can't deal with it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to know. And that's fine. I wasn't put here for everybody. I was put here for a few that want to find the truth. And so I think it's quite amazing that we're told that neither human spirit nor word nor light can love you. That's something I haven't really examined that, but I think there's certainly a value. That's going to be something that has to be looked at with intention, and of course the universe will give understanding as that goes along for many of you who function in that realm. Those above and those within cannot rest in you. Those above and those within cannot rest in you. Think about that one. I have many words I would say about that, but it might not be comfortable. And you have no part in them. Slave and free. People who are slaves against their will can be free. People who are freed by favor of their master and then sell themselves back into slavery cannot be free again. Do you see the switch up? This isn't talking about somebody who was on a plantation and the Emancipation Proclamation was written and that person was freed and they went back to work in servitude. It's not talking about that at all. This is a spiritual slavery. There is a race of people that were in slavery in America, and those people are still in slavery, friend. They've been free over 150 years. Okay? They were freed. But their reality still remains hung in the paradigm, and the negativity has caused mass destruction to their own race. Racism happens. All humans at some level, if you were honest with yourself, have racism. There are very few people that can think about the people in their own race in a totally positive light. Now you're asking someone who is even more different than you. And so, but this person intentionally stays in that place and no one can free them. That's why 200 years later they're talking about we owe them money so they can live and not work. We owe them money for what my great-great-great-grandfather did. And I'm sorry, every one of us have those travesties in our past, friends. Unfortunately, they were not the only ones who were used and abused. In fact, if I was going to give reparations, it would be to the American Indians before anybody. And so, people who are freed by favor of their master and then sell themselves back. So once again, there is an imposed on us thing, and it is different than the thing we impose on ourselves. So you may have been a slave because, let's say, a slave to a specific teaching. I was a slave to Christianity. Okay? I was birthed into that. I was taught that my whole life. I sat in church every Wednesday night and every sun worship day for the first 15 years of my life. That's what the slavery and the programming that I was sold into when I came in this incarnation. My master source gave me the freedom to see the truth so that I could be free. If I then turn around and go back, the freedom that source gave me and the things that he's done will cease. He didn't bring me into it, he brought me out of it. He didn't want me to go back in it. And so if I do that, then I made that conscious decision to return to slavery. Farming. Farming in this world depends on four things. And a harvest is gathered and taken into the barn as a result of water, earth, air, and light. And just so you know, all of those things are spiritual things as well. It is literal. We do have all of those things, and that's what makes plants grow. But this is also a spiritual statement, so it's really not one or the other. In this instance, it's actually both. He's teaching a parable off of something that is very real to everyone who has lived in an agriculture environment. And so, and the harvest is gathered and taken into the barn as a result of water, earth, air, and light. God's farming also depends on 4 things: faith, hope, love, and knowledge. So if we then are to be stewards of the creative source, and we are to work for him, as Yahusha said, I must be about my Father's business. He could have easily said that I must be about my Father's farming. Okay? God's farming depends on 4 things. So what is that really telling us then? It's telling us that the hidden things of God are the same as the exposed things of humans. There is a correlation. God's farming depends on 4 things: faith, hope, love, and knowledge. And so faith is the earth in which we take root. So we place value that this earth is going to continue to spin. We place value that this earth is going to continue to provide all of the vital things that we need. True faith in its essence has no doubt about what our Creator. Well, we've had so much seed sown into us that has doubt. Well, who is it? Is God really going to kill you? Does God really hate you? Is he really waiting? Because I got to be honest with you, friends, after having been a Pentecostal pastor who was ordained, I never met a person yet that was saved, including every leader I've ever met. I got to know them as humans, and I found out, guess what? They were still humans. When you take the suit off and you go outside and work with them, they're a human just like you are. And I watched their flaws and their infallibilities. I watched those fallibilities, not infallibilities. And so, faith is the earth in which we take root. So our belief in the universe, our belief in all of the attributes. Hope is the water with which we are nourished. Understanding the proper definition for hope in a biblical context is expectancy. So hope is not wishing. Hope is not favor. Hope is expecting that what God did in the farming, the faithfulness of him, expecting that is for you. You see, Christianity started that thing off by telling you that when you die, then if you were good enough, then you get to go to God, and now he's going to judge you, and Jesus is going to stand there and he's going to say, oh God, look how good this person was. And the devil's going to be over there saying, well, look at this whole list of things that they did. It sounds like one of these things we're going through right now with our government when they bring these people in, and you watch how the lies and the wickedness is beginning to be exposed. That's the courtroom of God, and God is going to sit up on his high throne. He looks a lot like Abraham Lincoln in many people's minds on the Lincoln Memorial, sitting so tall and stoic with his hands on his huge chair, and he's God the judge, and the glory of his train fills, which is all biblical pictures that were made to make your mind think God is somehow in human form, when in fact he is nothing but pure energy. And so hope is the water with which we are nourished. Love is the air through which we grow. Think about that. What if you have a wrong understanding of what true love is and the love of God? I know many people that have been divorced 5 and 6 times, and they told every woman they ever married how much they loved them. Well, what happened? Did your love stop? You just all of a sudden got pissed off and now you didn't love them anymore? What the hell? I mean, I'm sorrowful. That's blasphemy. What it says is they have no knowledge or conscience of what love even is. God's love is the air that causes us to grow. Knowing that God's love has my best interest always at heart, even if my best interest needs to be that I have to understand correction. I don't understand that correction anymore as he's trying to punish me. I understand it as the kindness of his love, and the only way he could get through to me was to make me suffer. And you guys that don't get that understanding, I'm sorrowful for you, because it's going to skew your picture massively. When you can walk every day and know that you're okay with him, even though you just screwed up and you had to suffer a punishment, you had to suffer a correction, and doing that joyfully in the concept that my God loves me. If he didn't love me, he would have let me continue, and I inevitably would have destroyed myself. That's huge to me, maybe not to you, but it is to me. And so love is the air through which we grow. Without the knowledge of God's love and then the knowledge of loving ourselves, friends, we will always stay in the sickness and the death that we were born into. That's why so many people have been in the same place spiritually their whole life. They'll never grow. And so knowledge is the light by which we ripen. You're going to find out in my researches lately, this is really beginning to be big. The purpose of coming here is starting to be revealed. And a large quantity of the purpose of humans even coming to this earth is to remember what we were. You can let that one sink in, you can contemplate on it, and I promise you, if you do properly, it will begin to expand and get much bigger. What we were has been stolen from us. What we are has been given to us. Remembering from what I am to what I was and what I really am is the journey. This is going to become very prevalent. It is the remembering. There was a massive forgetfulness that was put over humanity. And I believe it is the time that Source is beginning to bring that back to light again. We're in a cycle. It's a fulfillment of many things all at once. And so, knowledge is the light by which we ripen. So guess what? Every time I sit here and I speak and I sow knowledge to you, that is the thing that will cause you to ripen. That is the thing. As you begin to hear words that I say and other people are saying, and you take that kernel of truth, you begin to ripen. All of a sudden, these things begin to get inside of you, and you begin to come to maturity. Understanding ripening is meaning becoming mature. And so then grace exists in four ways. It is earthly and it is heavenly. The highest heaven. Blessed is one who never grieves anyone. This one here, man, I have to tell you, I've read it multiple times, and every time I read it, the message is just as huge as it was the time before, which is one of the ways you can tell if something's really potent. If you go back and read it and it evokes a spiritual emotion in you of knowledge or recognition, then you might keep reading it until that ceases. You've received mastery of it, if you would. So, blessed is the one who has never grieved a soul. Is that any of us? This is Jesus Christ. He came to the whole earth and he never laid a burden upon anyone. Blessed is one like this, for this is a perfect human. So just as with Buddha, just as with Hare Krishna, and most of the other ancient enlightened ones, including Yahusha, they were the ones who came to alleviate the load, not to impose the load. Why was Yeshua such at odds with the Jewish priest? Because they were imposing loads. In fact, I believe it's Paul speaking in a cosmic realm. Many of you would think it was Christian, but it's not. When Paul fights with them because of what they're doing to the people by the false teaching, and you have Yeshua talking about you load people up, you do all of this stuff, you spend all of this time to make a disciple, and then you do nothing to help them enter into the kingdom. Yeshua didn't impede anybody from coming to the truth of the kingdom. The burden that he was talking about is then played out in Philip's writings, which makes sense, which correlates that it's probably a good probability that Philip is the Philip of the Bible, and he was also around in the time of Yeshua. And so he never laid a burden upon anyone. Wow. Blessed is the one like this, for this is a perfect human. So then one of the traits that makes a human imperfect is the fact that you lay burdens on other people. Yeah. You lay burdens on other people. The word tells us how difficult it is to bring this about, so there's no deception in their mind as to this is going to take everything that there is. What's really cool is that as we go along, you guys are going to actually find out that there are ancient truths. They're the only truth that is truth, and they've always been truth, and they've always existed. And that in times past, removed from us, the people were taught knowledge, how to function in the spirit realm by their leaders. So instead of what Christianity says, that you have a couple of these people that are, you might call according to our language, that they were doing magic, there were thousands of people that could function in the supernatural realm and do what we today would call magic. It was the norm. It wasn't common for people to stay sick, even though we didn't have the medicine, although all of that is even being totally rebuked by the findings. And if you, of course, close your eyes and refuse to go look at what is being found in the historical world and brought to the light, then of course you will never have any knowledge or understanding. And I mean, we're talking about knowledge here. Knowledge has, obviously, it is the light. You can't see without knowledge, but you have to go get knowledge. And if you don't have knowledge, you can't see. So we're getting knowledge even in this precept that we're reading. Everything I've shared today is knowledge that will bring you closer to the light, even the pieces that you don't like. And so the word tells us how difficult it is to bring this about. Please hear me, dear one. There is no misconception in these people's eyes about the price that has to be paid for the thing that I'm talking about. It's not cheap, and it's sure not free. They can tell you that Jesus gave you free salvation. They lying to you, and you bought it. The truth of the matter is there's nothing in the kingdom that's free. And we don't like that because we've been programmed by American society. I hear people say it all the time, well, free is good. I like to look at those people when I hear them say that and go, well, maybe. Of course, my question mark isn't just this big, it's this big. So the word tells us how difficult it is to bring this about. If you're struggling with the concept of contemplation, you're struggling with the concept of meditation, you're struggling with the concept of breathing work, none of the supernatural spirit realm can be found from the outside, none of it. All you are hearing is people talk about something that usually they themselves have no experience of because they haven't gone inside. The only place we can experience this is inside of us, and it must be in us to be out of us. Anybody hear me? As inside, so is outside. The supernatural works Yeshua was talking about he could do because those works were in him. And if those supernatural works are to be done by you, they must first be in you, and then they will emanate, manifest out of you. So we've kind of been taught exactly backwards. I'm finding lots of Christian things that are like, it's like, well, was this an accident? Well, no, then I found out they burnt down the Library of Alexandria, making sure that they mostly destroyed the Gnostic teaching. So then it gets really easy to go, oh, okay, well, these people have been trying to, it's like, well, we didn't have anything to do with the election. We didn't have anything to do with the Russia hoax. It's exactly the same story that's been sold to us by Christianity. Well, we didn't have anything to do with these bad things, guys. You weren't smart enough, and we had studied more, and you weren't smart enough to be spiritual, so we had to give you a path so you could think that you were spiritual. And it's really one of the most heinous statements that could be made. They don't say it openly, but if you have eyes that are open, you will clearly see that they have intentionally hidden the truth from us. And so, to begin with, one must not cause grief to anyone. And I don't know about y'all, but I get what I call my conviction going on when I hear that. But it's actually the light into my into my path and the lamp under my way. What if I then believe the truth and I mix true belief with truth? The scriptures tell us that will then begin to manifest. And so what if every day as you're walking through your things and you encounter a situation and you say, I desire my intention, you must set intention, but my intention is that I grieve no one in this situation. And I promise you, if you will begin to program yourself of the knowledge and then to walk in it, you will begin to watch things change. And so, to begin with, one must not cause grief to anyone. Where is that in Christianity? Whether great or small. So this is a thought process for us to function by, friends. This is the beginning. They said to begin with because this is the first. If you don't get this, you can't. None of the rest is open for you. To begin with. One must not cause grief to anyone. Yes, that is an idyllic statement, but I believe it is an idyllic statement that can become manifested truth in our life. Doesn't matter how long it takes. We've already been told it's not going to be easy. And so if you're looking for easy, then, they've already taken that away from you. If you're not concerned about causing grief to other people, then you'll continue to go on and say and do anything that you choose and deem. Everybody does what's right in their own eyes. That's why he said that. Because they're not doing what's right in their heart. They're only doing what's right in their mind. And so to begin with, one must not cause grief to anyone, whether great or small. And I love this piece too, because this totally goes against everything that Christianity has always stood for. Okay? Unbeliever or believer. So you mean then that the royal universal law of all mankind says that I must not cause grief? So what does that mean then when you stand and you talk and you argue and you bicker with someone who doesn't know the truth? Maybe your heart is right because you desire to share truth with them. But are you sharing truth with someone who doesn't want to hear truth? That's why I like this format, because I don't have a clue. God just keeps telling me that my words have much power. I don't have a clue who they're affecting. I mean, we got the folks that are here, and other than those people, I have no clue. And so one must not cause grief to anyone. Put that into your beginning of a belief system. Those are the kind of affirmations that actually will come to pass more so than I have everything I need and I always have enough money and, those kind of affirmations, which seems to be where people like to hang out at, how can they enrich theirself? What if you begin to put in your affirmations is, today I will not cause grief to anyone. And then you hold that intention and you go all day long fully intent on every situation you encounter. You put, I will not grieve anyone today in front of whatever's going on, whether it's an argument, whether it's things you don't like. You will begin to see that you as a person, your character will begin to change. Whether great or small, unbeliever or believer. And I have to tell you, man, I've had many of my all-nighters arguing with people about what the Bible says. And I look back at that and I go, I wasted my time. And at the same time, they were wasting their time because they no more changed me than I changed them. So it wasn't one or the other. It's functioning everywhere. We only need to be one to opt out of the equation. So when you would like to take something and think really bad about somebody, what if you then instead you implant a different thought process intentionally? Does that change that the behavior that they exhibited was wrong? No, it doesn't. I don't have the power to make them change their behavior, friends. If I did, my own children would act different. And I haven't ever been successful in 40 years of that. So if I can't do it for my own children, how can I do it for somebody who's not? You can't. People are going to make the decisions that they make. We have to learn that, and we have to be okay with that and still love them. And so there are some who profit by helping the rich. We have lots of them. The person who does good deeds will not help the rich. There's really an underlying thing here that will shake you to your core if you begin to get a hold of it. For this person will not take just anything that may be desirable, nor can such a person cause them grief, since this person does not give them trouble. The new rich sometimes cause others grief, but the person who does good deeds does not do this. It is the wickedness of these people that causes their grief. Are you seeing the correlation there? You can't stop the wickedness of the people that the grief is being caused by. It's being caused, in many cases, I've said many truths and offended people massively. That wasn't what I said that offended them. What offended them was their wickedness, and they don't want the truth because the truth makes them guilty. That's why truth is hated in many arenas. And so it is the wickedness of these people that causes their grief. So it's really not you causing grief. But if you don't say the things that interject you into that situation, then they may have grief, but it won't be you that caused it. It's better for them to have grief because of their self or other people and not to have grief with the people of light. You believe that Jesus was God and that all you need to do is drink a sip of his blood and eat a piece of his body and you're saved and going to heaven and you're now spiritually perfect, so be it. How does that affect reality? It only affects yours. It doesn't change truth. It doesn't make truth what you say it is. It simply means that that's your belief system. And so it is wickedness of these people that causes their grief. That's a really profound statement. If you'll watch this, you'll start seeing these things pop up in your life. And the Creator will bring them to your mind in the right situation, and you'll go, oh, this is that playing out. The person with the nature of a perfect human gives joy to the good, but some people are deeply distressed by all of this. So just so you know, friends, They were having struggles with these things because the carnal is quite prevalent. And we want to go, but. And unfortunately, really, on many levels, there is no but. Does that mean that we don't like to see truth and right and good? Not at all. Does that mean sometimes that truth and right and good is less than pleasurable? I mean, there's some people right now, I could name probably 100, that within months should be on trial for treason and hung on national television. Yeah, that's where we're at in time and history, friends. It's not an if, it's already starting to come out that it was. Wasn't a conspiracy theory, it was. And so I have to then balance that inside of myself, and I either let myself get caught up in that, or I recognize that just as the reverberations of karma function, the opportunity for all the things that are fixing to happen to have not had the effect that they have was then, not now. Okay? It's not like karma ran out there and it went and read the book for every bad thing everybody did, and we kind of have this misconception. And I'm gonna share this on a larger teaching simply by itself. But suffice to say, in Russia, when an 8.8 earthquake happened this past week, one of the things that came out of that was walls of water that were headed, that were tens of feet and 20s of feet. I don't know that we ever got to the 100-foot level of tsunami that's headed towards Hawaii, and everybody got concerned. So let me ask you a question, because this is a metaphor for your life. Was the time to stop the tsunami before the tsunami happened? Quite frankly, friend, it's the only way to stop the tsunami. The tsunami did not just all of a sudden pick itself up and start rolling across the ocean to go destroy some land. Something caused that. And that takes us back to the Kabbalion of everything has cause and effect. So our behavior is the cause. The effect is the outworking of our behavior, whether positive or negative for us. But it's an ebb and flow. It's not like you got, it's like you sent this horrible frequency out there, and that horrible frequency went woo, and then turned right around and went woo, and came right back at you. Wasn't anything anybody else did, it was the frequency that you released into the earth. And that's a much clearer and a much better synopsis, although very rudimentary, of how karma works. It's not you did bad, so the universe sends something bad to you. Actually, the outworking of karma is your creation. And once again, that if we'll begin to accept the responsibility, then what that says is, instead of saying, well, it's not my fault, which is what most people are prone to do, you begin to say, this is my fault. And I'm not talking, I don't say this is my fault to condemn myself. I mean, I don't slap myself in the side of the head, well, all the time anyways, but I don't slap myself in the side of the head. I recognize that was not very beneficial for me. It wasn't very, very beneficial for someone else. Probably wasn't the most prudent thing that I did, and on and on and on. But it's not as if, in the manner in which we kind of have been portrayed to us, because we have a Bible picture mindset, that we do bad and then God destroys us for it. That's not the way it works. And so, with that all said, we're gonna take some time. I hope you will, something that I've said will be put inside of you, and I hope it bugs you all week long. I hope it. My hope, my expectation is that it in fact will be infinitely more powerful than your power to resist it. Because if you will, and if you will contemplate on it, there's a lesson, a blessing, a teaching that the universe wants you to get out of it. It's not to harm you. It is to love you and correct you so you don't continue to harm yourself. I think that's been one of the greatest revelations. I know that we function in our carnal realm and we want to blame everybody for the things we did. And it might have just been a bad decision, and yet you made a bad decision and then bad things happened to you. But it's only when we can begin to relinquish our ego to a point that we begin to recognize that this is an outworking of me. It's an outworking of my behavior. If I don't want this same thing happening, then I must change that. And so Yeshua is the picture for us. He came to the earth. He brought no karmic load. He took no karmic load out. He came in. Had he grieved people, guess what he would have done? He would have left here with a karmic load. You know what that means? He would have had to come back as a human again. We have had to come back as a human maybe many times, but guess what? Maybe in 500 of the last incarnations you've lived in, you never heard these words. Wouldn't that be quite amazing? If you've lived 5,000 years and you've never heard, you've never recognized, you've never become conscious of the very simple things that I'm teaching you. I hear all of these people in the spirit movement, and I'm going to show you some things as we go along here that will debunk a lot of this nonsense. But there is very much a discipline, action that must be put in place to diminish the undisciplined pay, if you would. Of course, I'm speaking still of karma. But the pay for the cause and effect is the pay for the labor. And so we control that by discipline. We control that by being conscious and saying, do I really want to say that? Do I really want to say that? Do I really want to think that? Because our thoughts are affecting us massively. Do I really want to do that? Because our actions are affecting us massively. And all of those things put together begin to be the picture of our consciousness. There are people who are conscious of their effects on the world and the people around them. And inevitably, I hope to God that that's where we all end up. Because we will begin to watch the meanness and the hatred and the evil and the unforgiveness and the lack of kindness. We will begin to watch those things diminish. And I don't know about you, friend, that would be heaven to me. If every human you encountered was full of love and light and kindness and caring, earth would be very much like what we perceived heaven to be. So shalom and peace to each and every one of you. We're going to take about 5 minutes or so, and then we're going to come back. I hope we'll be a blessing and bless you with a few songs. And then we're going to come back and we're going to pick back up again. And these next two little teachings in As a Man Thinketh are absolutely beautiful. All meant to make us think, then to contemplate the reality of it, and then hopefully put it in, because it's truth, and put it inside of us and begin to affect our life change. And so peace to you guys. We'll be back in just a few minutes. All right. Well, what a wonderful day it is. Beautiful, and in all of the ways that the Creator has shown love for us. You know, I think maybe there are people who don't recognize it, but for those of you who do, and I believe there are some out there, blessings to all of you. Thank you for the one that just subscribed. It seems like such a simple journey, but it's such a difficult task sometimes, because really the universe asks more than we are capable as a human and less than we're capable of as a spirit. And so if you'll once again, if you'll begin to contemplate that, yes, this is difficult from my human perspective. But if you could access your higher, and hopefully all of us will inevitably come to that place of accessing higher self. From higher self, you would look and go, why did y'all struggle so much? You see what I'm saying? But it's so difficult from being here to even imagine what it would be like to be over here where you're like, yeah, sure, no problem, man. That's such a far bridge, and yet all of that exists inside of us. And so I hope you guys will take a hold of that. The first song we're going to do for you this morning speaks to really the reality of that. And if you have doubts, then I don't know that I can help fix your doubts. But the name of this first song, it's certainly my belief, and that is, He's Real. There's no question that the universe and our God is real. Hallelujah. Have you come to that revelation that in fact He is real? What a comfort and a wonderful blessing it is when we can, I don't know, nothing about it is remotely like even the most moving spiritual things that I ever had happen as a Christian. This is so foreign to me anyways. Maybe it's not to y'all. But to me it's so foreign because all of the paradigms that I was programmed with from my earliest childhood about who our Creator, about who our God is, all of those paradigms are false. He is a kind, benevolent, but we were made to be something amazing, and that was His will also. I just wonder how, it's like the universe, the light is there, is metaphorically thumping his foot, waiting for us. When are you guys going to finally wake up and recognize how much I love you? Wow. He truly is our source. And His love is truly amazing. That's the next song we're going to do. It's called Source Love. know, it's there for everybody, but I think we can all be honest enough to admit that there are a lot of people that are walking around living lives very unfulfilled because they don't know of His love and they can't seem to find the love for themselves. I mean, if our picture of ourselves is nothing of but destruction and all of those things, inevitably it's going to be very hard to look at yourself and go, you know, I'm great, I'm wonderful, I'm light, I'm love, It's going to be really difficult. And many people that I've met and talked to, I meet them every day, I see them. Sometimes I see them and I can see the pain in their eyes just simply by looking at them. I think that the Creator is exposing that on purpose. Really, how many people live lives of unhappiness? Some of you know them, maybe some of you are them. But I'm here today to tell you that probably everything that you feel about them or about yourself is true on one plane, but it's not true in the spirit realm. We go through things, we suffer with things, we all have our problems, that's the way life is. But on the other side, we have a friend that sticks closer than the friend. And while it is Yeshua in the metaphysic form, I'm talking about our Creator. And so the next song that we're going to do then is an outworking. I guess it kind of has a karmic picture to it a little bit. We have to serve someone. We either make a conscious decision about who that will be, or by nature we fall to the default. Unfortunately, in this situation, the default is usually self. So, if you know, everybody can find a street corner and put a church up, and that's where they worship at, is itself. But we got to serve someone. The beauty is we get a chance to choose who that is. Got to serve somebody. Got to serve somebody. What an amazing positive note when we put that in right perspective. And I think the next song has something to do with the perspective. The name of the song is Power in My Life. You know, if we're trying to do all of these things, and I do have, I don't know if it's, I don't fear the negative vibration. I have concerns that many people think that what's being stated by the mystic metaphysic area is that somehow you're going to purpose in your mind that your mind is going to become greater, and that is meeting higher self. And quite honestly, nothing could be further from the truth. It's not a forcing ourselves into something. It's actually a releasing all of the fake that the true us can then begin to manifest. And so if we do that, and as we do that, we begin to typically see increases in psychic powers, many really positive. Have there been people use those powers negatively? Of course there have. Is it possible for people to become enlightened and then do black magic to harm people? Absolutely. Has it happened? Yes. Does it happen? Yes. It's always has. But that has to do with a totally different subject, and then we still get to make the choice as to how I use the gifts that the Creator has gifted humanity with. How do I use them, not how someone else uses them. And so the name of the next song really does speak to many of these things. Source is love, is the power in us. He is the power in our life.
I see some spirit is arising. I have no fear in life today. I see my love coming right now. I know I've only found a way.
We don't have to do this by ourselves, but we do have to do it. And so I love that I have a partner, as the Bible says, an ever-present help in our times of trouble. Have you called out to your spirit guides? Maybe that's a linear thought process, but sometimes we humans need linear thought processes to understand hidden things. We constantly see that hidden things can't be seen by the things that are. And so sometimes we need to value those linear thought processes. But there are spirits around us constantly. It's been quite an amazing shift for me to recognize that the fullness of the spiritual realm is everywhere. It's everywhere. I've often wondered, well, how did I get that download, or how did I get that intuition, or how did I get that message? It's not like I have to just go to one specific place and I get it. It might be, well, I won't say where I'm sitting, but it might be climbing stairs, it might be going here, it might be going there, it might be driving in a car, and all of a sudden, boom, I just get a download of some knowledge that I never possessed beforehand. So he's everywhere. It's up to us to attune our antenna to the signal that's being broadcast, if you would. And I hope if you'll take that and you'll begin to ponder on that, maybe you'll begin to practice that, because all of these things that we're talking about, friends, they involve constantly practicing the practice of consciousness. We'll be back in just a minute. Thank you, sweet girl. Hallelujah. I hope you guys were blessed. It's such a privilege and an honor to really have the freedom, and I know sometimes it's hard for y'all. We haven't been blessed with an IT guy to come back that would put the words up there for us again. But I do hope you enjoy our new beautiful picture. That's a beautiful picture of the tree. I see the tree is the tree of life, and out of the tree of life comes the bright light that's shining. That's always wonderful. It's wonderful. I'm telling you, life is amazing. And so, well, we're going to go back for a little while. It's not going to be much longer, but I do really think that, and I hope it's good seed for you guys, because I'm finding that many of the pieces, they begin to morph together, they begin to web together. Seen some really cool stuff this past week that's going on in the archaeological realm, and it's amazing to me. And I know if you're not a person, I've always studied history since I started reading the Bible, and then I found out the Bible wasn't history. But how they're tying so many things from the ancient, they're starting to come forth. You know, the man that was 12,000 years old, or the child, I don't remember anyways, it was a human. And then we thought that was amazing, man, that's like twice as far back as Moses was. And then you find out that a month later they find the remains of a 28,000-year-old. My brain can't even deal with 28,000 years ago. You know, and here we were. I was one of them vehement, adamant. I actually believe the Bible, believe it or not. And I was adamant that, you know, 6 days we work, and on the seventh is the Sabbath, and that's when Jesus is coming back. And just like the Jews, they have the count. I think we're probably around 5,600 and some odd years since Adam. Oh well. You know, you can only know what you know till you don't know, and when truth comes, then sometimes it supplants what you thought you knew. Then you have to humble yourself and start all over again. So, as the universe has spoken, it's been waiting for me. It just has taken me a bit to get here. So, the same for each and every one of you. So, in James Allen's book, these affirmations, I really am going to probably continue with this for a while, because I think they seem to be really peaceful pieces. His book moved me, and there's lots of the things that I read and learned in his book that I'm finding that my mind is putting into daily routines, and recognizing that everything has to do with character. I was asked by somebody recently about what were the things that I guess, how you say it, I thought were honorable, that I liked, that I thought were good, or and whatever. And I just began a short list of, you know, character and integrity and kindness and mindfulness and all of those things, and the person was done with the conversation. And I thought, how sad. The things that are most virtuous make people offended. Now, of course, once I know that person, I won't have that, because I don't desire to cause them any grief. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how far we are from who we really are, and by virtue, because of that, how far we are from the God that's in us. And so, the third morning, I did the first and second morning with y'all last week, and I hope that blessed somebody. I hope somebody retained some of it. But it's really beautiful. It is a path to success. They are metaphysical paths to success for us, if we will put these things and let them begin to live in our life. And they're very peaceful. They're very wonderful. They're very strengthening, encouraging. And so he says the third morning, this is really powerful, to follow under all circumstances, no matter whether they're good, no matter whether they're bad, no matter whether they're peaceful or whether they're unpeaceful, to follow under all circumstances the highest promptings within you. Now, this is where the concept that the New Age movement has, that we already possess everything that is necessary. And I do agree with that in principle, but it's wonderful that there's been some things coming that are actually saying that we don't possess those things within us. They are possessed in the cosmos, and as we enlighten, we then gain access to unlimited knowledge, eventually, is the end result. And so that was the whole concept and the hugeness of the whole thing about the antenna that I shared with you. That right there, if you will put it in proper context in your life, that will. Close your eyes any given day when you're in a situation. Close your eyes and see the antenna. I see multiples of antennas that are projecting out of my mind into the cosmos, and the universe will send the knowledge that you need. Actually, that may sound weird in sci-fi. I never was a sci-fi fan, but wow, I really, there's some things that are pretty sci-fi. And science is starting to prove that there is no way that a human could contain in their brain all of the information that we've always been told that we contain. We don't contain it. It's not stuck in us. We access it. It's here. It's everywhere. But we access it. Doesn't mean we don't have some memories, but where are the memories hidden inside of you from your past lives that can be accessed through hypnosis? I mean, that's really one of the most relevant questions you can ask yourself. If you believe in past life regression, if you've ever done it, you certainly believe in it. But if you have any, it can allow yourself the open-mindedness to have any understanding of past life regression, you would have to ask yourself, when we were reading Dolores's book, where did that girl get all that information? Was that information from 2,000 years ago? Was all of that stored in her mind? Or was it that her mind was opened, and when it was opened, the antenna then attuned itself to source, and she had access? And that is actually how it works. We're going to go in, because I know I've used the term Akashic Record, and I've been doing research and stuff on the Akashic Record, and I think it will really blow you away, because quantum physics existed thousands of years ago, friend, and I'm just telling you, it's coming fast. The things that are being exposed about the ancient people, that we thought they were just a bunch of dumb people and we were the highest people that ever existed, and yet it's actually, in my perception, it's actually coming off as exactly the opposite. So, to follow under all circumstances the highest promptings within you. So if you are an intuit, if you have intuitive things, and I think that everybody has the ability to be intuitive, but I don't think that people trust it, and I don't think that maybe you've gotten maybe you've had an intuition, or you've had a thought that popped into your mind, and you're so programmed to not believe the spirit realm that you actually didn't give value to that thing. I know I've done it a bunch. I've seen it function. Really, I think now, if I look back through all of my life, there would be pieces. I would make a statement of something and either talk myself out of that or have somebody else talk me out of it. And we have to learn to trust our Creator. We have to learn to trust the God spark that is in us. When intuition comes, intuition doesn't come to harm you. If you get an insight and everybody around you can tell you that you're wrong, and if you will continue to trust the spirit realm, you inevitably will find out that you were right and they didn't want you exposing what the truth was. And so maybe some of you have experienced that. Maybe maybe you've quit experiencing intuition simply because of the fact that it seems like you get pushed down when you make a statement as bold as, an intuitive statement about something. Well, that's not going to work out. Heck, half the people will tell you, quit being negative. Well, I'm not being negative. If I'm telling you that something that you're doing isn't going to work out well for you, and I'm telling you that in love with the benevolent purpose for a good outcome, so my intentions are right, and I tell you that just because it wasn't pleasing for you doesn't mean that that's negative. If you were functioning in the realm in which you would, and somebody gives you an intuition, you would pay heed to that intuition, and you would at least watch it play out. You might find out that there's a lot of people around you that have been sending words to you to help guide you, and you keep throwing them in the trash, and they're actually there for your protection. And so that's another piece of the whole learned of this thing. We not only have to learn about the intuition that comes from ourselves, we have to learn about intuition. Oftentimes, there will be somebody that is more open, is more advanced, and Source will give them an intuition to share with you. It wasn't as difficult in the Christian world, especially the Pentecostal world, to kind of get that across, because those people are already programmed about prophecy anyway. And really, if the honest truth is known, friend, there is definitely a correlation between the biblical prophets and the seers and metaphysics. I understand now. If you want to know the truth, I got real angry one time about 25 years ago. I was talking to a guy, and he said, well, all of the scholars are teaching now that Moses was a witch doctor. And I understood, and we're going to get into this. I want to bring, there's some words that before we get into Helena's books, I think that need to be defined, because some of you might get all freaked out, and I want to help you. I don't want to hinder you. But I would say the reality is that you could put every prophet that's in the Bible, and if we saw that person today, we would call them a shaman, a witch doctor, because that's what they were. They accessed the spirit realm. And that's really it in a nutshell. So we have all the names that we've put on. It was like the first time that somebody, told me that we were a cult. And it was really funny. It shocked. It actually angered them. Their jaw hit the ground when I looked at them and went, yeah, I'm glad you got it. We're a cult. And I took the person and showed them what the definition of an occult was, and it simply means a group of people that believe the same thing. So we are a cult. There are cults all over the place. And so I want to bring those things. But it really is a time to grow. It is a time to loosen yourself from the binds, get out of the slavery that you were programmed into from your earliest youth, and begin to see that there's a great big luminous world out here that is just bouncing with energy, and you were created to be a part of it. And so we have to pay attention to those promptings. You have to pay attention to those intuitions. Sometimes they will tell you things that you don't want to hear. It's like if you get a knowing and you're in a bad situation in a job, and you get a knowing and you go, I really need to get a different job as quickly as possible. This is not a positive place for me to be. If that message were to come through in your spirit, then you need to pay attention to that. It could be anything from just simply stress and drama that comes into your life, which lowers your vibration, which diminishes your power, which causes unrest in your life, and that's not positive. So we really do need to pay attention to these things. Those are the promptings inside of us. The term I'll use is intuition, and I believe that is proper. So the promptings within you, this isn't something that came from outside. To be always true to the divine self. That's huge. I think all of us, to be quite honest with you, have sold ourselves down the river and sold ourselves short probably a lot more than we really grab a hold of by not doing that. By saying, I have a knowing inside of me, and that knowing is real, and I'm going to trust that knowing instead of trusting what other people are telling me. And of course that takes practice to gain trust. It takes a belief that the universe does love you. God isn't going to punish you. He loves you. He desires for you to be protected. He desires for us to go. It's quite interesting that in the Akashic record, and as we go along, there will be myself and others who will inevitably learn the process to access the Akashic record. You can do that and see all the lives. But here's something that I've been learning that really has kind of stoked me. What exists in the Akashic record is, the Bible has a version of it. It tells you that every man is going to be judged, and and there is a book that is written that has every failing that you've ever done. That is the Akashic record, just in case you didn't know it. Okay, so it's not like that's some woo-woo scary thing. The Akashic record exists in every society that's ever existed. There's always been a place of knowing everything. And it includes the Bible, and it includes Christianity. That's one of their core beliefs. So, but one of the things is that actually every one of us, there are multiple timelines and multiple decisions that we could have made that we could have lived in this life. So that is to say, we think, and we've been programmed. I heard somebody say the other day, well, you only get one life. And I went, okay. But there are actually many choices that have been available to us. You didn't take the steps, you didn't make the decisions, but those things are known. And when you access the Akashic, be after you're dead, or if you come to enlightenment somewhat and you learn how to access this here, then you actually, just like you can look at past lives, you also can see the opportunities that were available. That is to say, that there were 5 timelines that I had. One put me as a doctor, one put me as something else, and one put me as over here, and I took this timeline, and it brought me down this road. Maybe had I chosen the timeline that would taken me to college, I would have never been in the place I was. I would have never been in the place spiritually I was, and I would have never arrived at the place that I am now. But I chose this one, and I like that, because then it's on me. I have nothing to complain about. And so, to be always true to your divine self. And I think for those of you that will continue on in this and grow and experience, you will understand, you will encounter lots of people that try to get you to diminish or to go against your divine self. And I think we have to learn how not to do that. We have to learn how to kindly excuse ourselves from those situations, be it conversation, be it situations. Sometimes it may be a job, it could be relationships. There's a million things. And so to rely upon your inward voice. Well, many of these things you have to first recognize that they are available to you, which is maybe where a lot of people are. And then once you begin to rest in that and you begin to trust that, you'll begin to see it manifest more. Everything that comes from the universe comes from belief. If you believe, you will see what you believe accomplished. And to pursue your purpose with a fearless and a restful heart. So not a frantic heart, not a this has to happen and it has to happen when I want it to. In fact, what it actually does is the confidence that it gives you is to know that whatever is coming, whatever is part of all of this, I don't have to chase it down, it will chase me down. And I got a download recently, and I shared it with a couple of people, and the Father Spirit asked me a question. He made a statement, but it was significant, and it was a wonderful spiritual moment. But God said to me, He said, "We've been here waiting for you." And I thought, wow, how crazy that is. That this is all orchestrated just exactly as was intended. I had no idea I would certainly be here. If you had asked me 20 years ago in Austin, Texas, we'd have probably not ended up being friends. I would have shamed myself for the things I would have said to you, you pagan. Uh, you know, I bet you even eat pig, don't you? I was hard. I got some people shaking. I stopped that head shaking now. You're grieving me. It was absolutely true. I was, well, I won't say it. I know it. I see it. I didn't see it then, but I do see it. And so, but we need to learn to rely on our inner voice. It's absolutely fundamental for our protection and our journey and our path and our enlightenment that you learn to begin to trust these things. You've had them, maybe more, maybe less, but everyone is psychic. We just have to get the poor programming that was put into us as a childhood that programmed out. And as we'll find when we get into this deeper with Blavatsky, Dolores Cannon talks about it because she was a follower of Helena Blavatsky as well. Every great mind since the 1800s or 1900s has been. And so, but we have to learn how to trust that. And trust, as you guys well know, often takes time to build. And so, we must learn then to rely upon the inner voice. That's the step past learning to trust it. Relying on it means you expect for it to be there when you need it. The inward light, so the inner voice is the inner light, and to pursue your purpose with a fearless and a restful heart. Believing that the future will yield unto you the need of every thought and effort, knowing that the laws of the universe can never fail. And this is something that is becoming very prominent. I shared with y'all that it's really a massive play on words. And we were convinced by Christianity that when Jesus said that the whole of the law rests on these two things, love God with all your heart, all your mind, and all yourself, and secondly is likewise love your neighbor as you love yourself. And he said the whole of the law rests on these two laws. Well, I know that I was taught, and I certainly taught that that was speaking of the Torah. I know now it wasn't. Yeshua was speaking of what you will hear many, 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 many times of universal law. There is a law that has always been with mankind. Truth has always been with mankind. It can be deviated by people. It can be manipulated by people, but truth never changes. And so that's why we keep watching the recurring sine wave of truth coming back into society. Man suppresses it, and it's like, I don't know if you garden much, but you can pull the weeds up and you can go away a few days and you can come back and you can say to yourself, I swear to goodness I pulled them weeds up the other day. And what are they? They are plants that are in a place you did not intend for them. They are a weed. And that's exactly how this works. The truth keeps getting pulled up by people, and guess what? It pops up again. And this cycle has been going on, if the number is true, there have been humans for near 200,000 years. And so that kind of does a little bit of destruction to the Bible as well. So, believing that the future will yield unto you the need of every thought and effort, knowing that the laws of the universe can never fail. It's just exactly the same as it is with karma. You must believe that karma is always at work. Just because you didn't get to see what the reverberation, the effect of the cause was, doesn't mean that the effect of the cause didn't happen. It just means you weren't privy to see it. And so, and that your own will come back to you with mathematical exactitude, and that's absolutely true. This is faith. This is faith. The belief that these things are fixed and they're not ever going to deviate. And then he says the living faith. And of course it is, in fact, not in any way dead. James knew what he was talking about when he said faith without works is dead, being alone. Because in reality you could define that as, well, then it's not faith. But I understood exactly what Yaakov, the brother of Yeshua, who was also a mystic, thank you very much. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this. If not, you might go research it. I watched an amazing thing that they're doing right now. Right now, they're using in some very high places. They are using AI they're starting to interpret ancient text that we have no really written, and in many cases we don't even know the language, if there even was a language. Some of them, they believed that they were telepathic. They thought everything. And I certainly believe that that is true, and I do believe that's where we will be again. That's why people that get taken up by aliens talk but never have a conversation, because it's all done telepathically. And our minds are capable of that. Sorrowful if that freaks you out or weirds you out. It's the truth. We can do it and we can practice it now, but it doesn't always work flawlessly, because just as us being an antenna, telepathy requires antennas. I need to be one, and the person I'm sending the message to needs to be one. And if you had a very close partner and y'all were very in sync spiritually, the communication would flow almost flawlessly. You could have a thought and that person talk to them a day later and they would tell you, oh yeah, the other day I was thinking, man, it just came through and I was thinking about this. They're testing in science all of this right now. They're proving it's true. Okay, none of this stuff is, if I'd have been 100 years ago, you could have said, well, none of this is proven by science. But here's the major problem, friends. It's all being proved by science. Science is doing tests where they take people. The military has been using this for 100 years. They put people in one room and they put people in one room and they have this person send these people a thought, and the people over here, all of a sudden, people receive that in their antenna. So it was sent in the airwaves, and the military's proved that. That's old news. So, in the evening, we have this living faith. In the third evening, have a thorough understanding of your work and let it be your own. What a beautiful thought. That I need to let it be my own. So for all of those youth out there, I don't know, I might make myself guilty as well. I don't do that often. It's all y'all's fault. But, man, we got to get a different picture about the kids. We got to get a different picture about how we raise. We can't even tell about ourselves. How do we know what a child's journey is? I mean, how do we know? We can certainly be there for comfort, and we can be there for suggestion, and we can be there to have ideas bounced off of us. But do you know how many people's lives have been ruined? I don't mean ruined. Maybe your mama wanted you to be a doctor, and so you suffered and went through doctor school only to be unhappy as heck the whole time to please your mom. And that was called acceptable. You have to be true to yourself. Each one of us has a purpose. And if your purpose wasn't to be a doctor and that's the journey, well, that's a path that you took. But the question then is, are all paths going to lead me to the same place? And the unfortunate truth is that no, they don't. And so, have a thorough understanding of your work and let it be your own. Maddie, you don't have to be nobody else, baby. You be you. Mikey, you too. I love and I have given y'all good counsel about things, but I have to tell you, inevitably, I want you to find who you are. And so, and as you proceed, ever following what? What is the thing that we all have not been trained to follow like we should have been? And if we had, society would be different. We have to learn to follow the inner guide, the intuition, the self, the higher self. The infallible voice. I love that statement, the infallible voice. The infallible voice spoke to me and said, we've been waiting for you. You will pass on from victory to victory and will rise step by step to higher resting places. And your ever-broadening outlook will gradually reveal to you the essential beauty and purpose of life. And I'm glad, to be honest with you, that I've gotten the opportunity to go from Christianity into the exposing light. And I'm even more glad that I've gotten an opportunity. I didn't get to do it with my children, as many of you can say the same. But I have to tell you, I'm very glad that this has all happened, that I could share the truth with my grandchildren. It is a heritage. Even if they don't understand, hopefully they have lots of years in their life, and I promise you the seed and the words that are being planted right now will be reverberating in their life forever. So we need to make sure about the seed that we're planting. The seed that you plant will bring the harvest that you desired. And unfortunately, in many cases, the harvest that was desired was that you be a Christian. That existed in my family. And I'm glad that the universe loved me enough and had a purpose for me to help me dig that seed out. Your ever-broadening outlook will gradually reveal to you the essential beauty and purpose of life. Self-purified health will be yours. Self-governed power will be yours. And all things that you do will prosper. Any of you remember a little well-known statement in the Bible? And it says that I would above all things, dear brothers and sisters, that you prosper and be in good health. You know the one qualifier that Christianity never had the concept of? The statement is even as your soul prospers. So all of the prosperity and everything else, the true God's prosperity that comes, is all based on the condition of our soul. And so I desire for all of us to be blessed. And I may stand where health, success, and power await my coming. Once again, the things that God has for us, friends, they're already there. They've been waiting for me to get to this point. I had to go through 30 years of not being at that point to get to this point. Was the 30 years necessary? Absolutely. Because if I hadn't have done the 30 years, it never would have brought me here. Wow. Life has a purpose. And it has a purpose for you too, dear one. And await my coming if each fleeting hour I cling to love and patience. I abide with stainlessness and never step aside. For from high integrity, so shall I see at last the land of immortality. He didn't say it would make him immortal. He said, at last I will get to see that land. And so I hope you guys are blessed today, and I hope I've been a positive seed. Some of the things, we're going to get into things that are going to just suck the wind right out of your lungs, man. I'm telling you, as these things come, it may not be your response, it may not be your vision, it may not be your picture, but for me, it's been quite amazing to me how much of the information that I've unearthed the knowledge as I unearthed it, that there are pieces of it, for some reason I had a knowing about that. And so maybe you'll experience some things where it just resonates really peacefully with you. You go, this is true. I get it. I've known this, you know. And I hope that you do experience those revelations. They're amazing. They're life changing, actually. And so, peace to each and every one of you this week. I hope that you have the most blessed week you've experienced in a long time. I hope that some of these words will bury themselves in your psyche and be brought back at the necessary time that you can deal with them. And we love you. So we come together today and we say to you again, Namaste.